Hi, this is Cheryl back with you from Farmhouse Frugally, joining Heidi Sonboul in the Christmas DIY Challenge. I will have the list in the description of all the other crafters, so please make sure you check them out. I have 7 crafts for you today, starting with number 1. If you have been with me for any length of time, you know my husband's always bringing me these spectacular things from our good table at the dump, such as this beautiful spindle wreath holder. This one was missing a hook, so I took out my hook stash and I tried a number of different ones to see which one I thought would look the best. And once I settled on that and had that attached, then I went ahead and just pulled out a regular old green Christmas wreath. You can get them anywhere, or maybe even make one. And this large snowflake from the dollar store. I painted that, dry brushed it with some linen white chalked paint, just simply, and then I took one of the Let It Snow. It comes in a pack of 3 for $1, so 33 cents for this. Added some cranberry color to it, glued it with some hot glue, and then I took this cranberry gingham check ribbon, also from the dollar store, and made a beautiful bow, and just voila, attached it to a wreath. Very simple, $2.33 plus the cost of a wreath. And then attached it to that lovely wreath hanger that my husband had brought home for me. Simple, easy to reproduce. On to number 2. Now, I don't have a good garland for my mantle, so I took the large snowflakes and the small wooden snowflakes, each from the dollar store, so $2 for those. I tore up some drop cloth fabric into about 9-inch strips or so, and then I removed the wire from the rest of that ribbon, cut it down in half, and then cut that also into about 9-inch strips, and just made a pile of some rope, some raffia, some ribbon, some drop cloth, and then you're simply going to take those little bundles and tie them onto either a rope or a wired raffia of some sort, some twine. I had this coated twine. I started by knotting on either end of the Let It Snow, so that could be my center, and then I worked on either end of that. And then I just added a little pile, some ribbon, some rope, some drop cloth, and then I put on another snowflake and hang that down, and then I would add a little jingle bell and hang that down, and then when I was done I just made 2 tassels, one for either end, to hang down in the middle, and hung it from command strips on my mantle, and it looks sweet and it matches the wreath. So I think it would be a great gift for probably $6. You could make both and or buy a wreath if you wanted to. So sweet little gift there for somebody for Christmas. Number 3 is a bit of a trash to treasure as well, but you could reproduce this. So my husband brought home this rather dirty candle holder on a piece of wood. I separated them and scrubbed them really, really well. And I went ahead and then took the black wrought iron piece. You could use a ladle if you don't have something like this, and I just sprayed it with a black Rust-Oleum spray paint just to get that clean, and then I'm taking the wood piece that's cleaned and dry brush that as well with the same linen white chalked paint. Now certainly you could use a piece of barn board, or you could use a Dollar Tree sign. I taped a piece of tissue paper to my printer paper and just printed the word joyful on my printer because I do not have a vinyl machine, and then separated that. I took some Mod Podge and I Mod Podged underneath the word, and then put that down with my hand, just patted it lightly, and then went ahead and put a coat of the Mod Podge over the top. While I was waiting for that to dry, my husband had brought home about 8 ornaments from the dump. Believe it, it's crazy what the people throw away at my dump. I attached that with some glue. I took this pretty cotton baker's twine or cotton yarn that you can get at the dollar store, made a sweet little bow, and attached it to that little ornament. And this sign is just adorable by itself. Honestly, you could hang that anywhere, prop it on the mantle, or I put it on the wreath just to show you a different item that you could do on a simple wreath. I flipped it on the other side and made a fall sign because why not? Might as well be dual purpose. And I thought that was adorable in my dining room for fall. And now we will move on to number 4. I want to use the other piece. So in this particular item, you could, as I said, use a ladle. And I had my husband cut for me a piece of barn board, or you could certainly use a Dollar Tree sign. I have a stash of barn board from a friend that I just absolutely love. And then I went and took some early American stained the edges, just to maybe make that match a little bit more. And while I was waiting for that stain to dry, I attached that candle holder right to the piece and glued and a small piece to the bottom so you could stand it up or you could hang it up. I took this Holly Jolly ornament from the dollar store, hung it on it, simply added a candle, and I absolutely love this. Then I threw on a bird and some flowers for spring and tried a little pumpkin for fall, just to kind of get an idea of a few different ways that you could use this, but I love it for Christmas. On to number 5, which is one of my all-time favorites. You are going to need some men's socks in white. I used 3. You are going to need some paper mache ornaments you can get online. Michael's used to have them. I'm not sure if Hobby Lobby does, but 3, I'm making 3. So 3 of these paper mache ornaments. Then you are going to need some water bottles. I used 1 small and 2 large, but you don't have to. And then some of these little noses, little carrot noses. I'm going to tea dye 3 of my socks because I like my snowmen to be tea dyed, but you could certainly make them white. If you're using a used sock, you'll definitely want to tea dye. Just put a couple, maybe cups of boiling water over a couple tea bags, stick them in there, and you can let that dry. See the difference between the white there. Now you can weigh down your water bottles a little bit with some rice or some sand or some beans or anything. And then you're going to want to go ahead and take the bottle, slide it into the sock, and tie off the top with some kind of rope or twine. You won't see it, so it won't matter. And then cut the top off of that sock, but save it. Leave a little bit so you can roll it down, a little bit of like a turtleneck on your snowman. Now go ahead and paint your ornament and add a little face, and then poke a hole with some end of the scissors for a nose. And then I just dipped the end of my paintbrush in some black paint and made little commas for eyes and little dots for nose. Very simple. Then I used hot glue to attach the nose. Now, I know you may not be able to find these noses, so what I did was I made one out of clay and painted it orange, a little bit smaller for my little guy. And then I ended up only using 2 socks because that piece that I had cut off, one of them actually fit my small bottle, so I glued the bottom of the sock to the plastic bottle and then did the same procedure with a little bit of twine around the top, making a little turtleneck and adding the top of the head. Once you have your 3 bottles complete for the basics, now you get to dress them up. Now to make a hat, you could use a sleeve of a top. You could use the sock that you cut off, like here, or you could use a child's sock. They all fit. I glued the top on. I tied a little bow and then just cut it to the size I wanted it on one. On the other one, I made a little pom-pom by using the sleeve and just slicing it down a bit. And on the third one, I covered the 2 water bottle caps with some fabric, twisted a pipe cleaner. I glued the little pipe cleaner onto his head, and then I glued on the 2 water bottle caps on either side so that it would look like he has little ear muffs. And they are looking adorable, but now they need a scarf. So I went ahead and took some ribbon and some fabric that I had left over and tied those on. And then I decided to get them some arms. So I went outside, I added a few buttons for embellishment and went outside and cut down a little bit of tree branches and glued those right onto the sock with some hot glue and gave them some arms. And then I had a few buttons that looked like items, little stocking and doll and mittens and such. So I went ahead and glued those directly to the arms, and I put them onto the little snowmen, and here they are complete. What a great gift, or an item you could make with your children. Great teacher's gift. Now, number 6 is a rocking horse that we got at the dump. It was broken, but you could probably find one at Goodwill or perhaps at a yard sale. So we did have to go ahead and first glue the pieces back and then take some wood filler and, fill the cracks and take some painter's tape and tape off the horse from the base of the horse. In case a child uses this, I wanted to have pretty decent paint job on the bottom and where the handles are. So once that was completely dry and sanded down a little bit, we went ahead and I painted the base of the horse with the Rust-Oleum spray paint, as well as the saddle and handles of the horse in that black spray paint. Then once that was completely dry, I brought it into my craft room, and then I gave it 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum chalked paint in the linen white. And once that was completely dry, then I took the horse outside and I sanded and distressed the edges of the horse all over, because I just love that farmhouse distressed look. Now, you can certainly skip that if you don't like this step, or you could paint him any color that you would like, especially if you have grandchildren or children and you want to go ahead and use this. I wanted it for a Christmas decor piece. So then once that was completely done, I took a black and white check gingham ribbon from the dollar store and made a sweet bow for his neck, and I think that he is going to be adorable underneath the Christmas tree. Which takes me to my final, number 7. If you're still with me, I am blessed. I am absolutely in love with spindles. I have quite the hoard of all shapes and sizes and colors. And I had seen a beautiful spindle Christmas tree made on Pinterest. They had put theirs on a picture frame, and I decided that I wanted mine freestanding, so I went ahead and laid out a bunch of different ones, shapes and sizes, and asked my husband to miter cut the edges because I'm petrified of the saw. And I had this awesome little knobby base, so I went ahead and just attached those different sizes together with hot glue, and this did take a little bit of holding that still. I initially thought maybe I'd put some beads in between, but I ended up just simply gluing them to one another, letting that dry, gluing the next one, letting that dry. So it does take a little bit of time, but I think the end result was wonderful. At one point, I did flip it around the back and add a little support, and then had to take my X-Acto knife and clean off some of the excess glue. And here it is on my mantle, and I am so glad that I finally did it. I have been wanting to make this for about 1.5 years. And here is the final result. Enjoy, and thank you for stopping by.